before we do a full visual inspection of all the damages that are found on this roof, we're going to want to identify what the roof looks like. So you're going to want to come up, we just came up the ladder from the rear side. You want to take a picture of the rear. I would start documenting picture, 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 so somebody sees when they go through the pictures what you're seeing up on that roof. And then we're going to do a higher pitch picture of the front, showing all the roof, how it's connected. Then we're going to take it off the top of the roof and document from each side of the roof what the roof looks like. And we're going to label front and rear, left and right. Okay, so now we're at the very top of the roof. It's got multiple facets, multiple elevations. This is a second story right now. We're going to start with the inspection. Now start with the rear. We're going to identify the damages. The first thing you want to go to is the same stuff you would look for on the ground, is any soft metals, because they show the most visible signs of damage. So we're going to start off by looking at the turtle vents. One thing you could do is you could obviously take your light, if you have it up there with you, shine it, and it'll show any type of damages. Sometimes it's enough for the sun to overcast it. Take a nice picture of it. The other thing you could do for a visual is take a piece of chalk and run that chalk on your vent. It shows you where the hail hits are. And take a picture of that. I also recommend taking a tape measure across it so you can show the size of the dents that are inside that vent. Actually, I found a really big one here I'm seeing right now. I would document the biggest one as my point of reference. So take a tape measure from here to here, and it doesn't matter how perfectly set up, it's a matter of getting a visual identification of how big that hail is. A couple other things to note. Vents, the way they're installed. It's a very common thing for roofers to nail from the bottom of the actual turtle vent. The reason why that's important is it's not necessary, and there's no written rule about doing it this way. For some reason, every roofer does it. But when you're meeting out there with an adjuster, you're now showing that there's damage to that shingle underneath. When they owe to replace this turtle vent, you should address the shingles underneath. They're also going to get damaged, because that's going to have to be replaced. You can't reuse the same nail holes. And it's almost impossible to even hit the same nail hole if you put on a new vent. So we're going to document now how many total vents there are. So we count each one of them, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So there's 9 vents total. We're either going to write with chalk how many there are next to it, times 9. Take a picture of it, or you can take a picture of it and use company cam to fill out times 9. So everyone in the office knows what we're looking at, everyone in production knows what we're looking at. Next, we're going to move on to the stacks. So at times you're going to find that there's a neoprene stack like this one. All it is a piece of rubber or plastic rough around the stack. You're going to want to take out your tape measure, measure from here to here. On center, it's 4 inches. And you're going to write down how many stacks are on this roof. In this case, there's only 1. And we're going to have a 4-inch. Put a separation between it. Document it. Now we know there's 1. Sometimes you're going to find a crack in these. Could that be from hail? Absolutely. Other times you're going to find what's called a lead stack or a lead boot. And all it is actual lead that's molded to be around this pipe. And it goes into the inside and it gets actually covered from the bottom to the top. There's no way there's any water is going to get through there. These fail much more often and much faster than a lead one will. On the lead, I'll show you a picture. You're going to see that there's dents and dings in it. Again, it's not ruining the integrity of it, but again, it's showing that there's actual damage or hail that was present, and they do owe to replace it. A couple other things that are notable. In this case, again, it's nailed through the top. So I would ask for a few shingles to be manipulated when they actually replace this. And other things to account for that a lot of people forget about is if there's tar on this, you're going to have to remove it regardless if it's damaged or not. So like in this case, they would probably just pull for detention and reset. But again, if there was tar on it, you would have to scrape the tar. Basically, if there's tar on it, you'd have to scrape it off. And the adjuster wants to replace the item. You can tell them pretty much that you need a couple hours to scrape off all the tar, make the item clean, and so this way it can be reused, which will probably cost more than the actual item itself. now that we've finished inspecting all the soft metals and all the components that are on top of the roof, we didn't find any chimney chase covers or chimney flashing on this house, so I can't show you on this specific one, but you'll see the pictures are below showing you what that actually looks like. So now we're going to actually take a look at the actual shingle. So when you meet or you're inspecting the property for the first time, what you want to do is first mark out a square, and a square is a 10-foot by 10-foot box, or 100 square feet in that box, and it gives you a visual representation of what the entire sample. This sample is a full representation of what the roof is supposed to be expected on that elevation. So the nice thing about a 3-tab shingle, which is 1, 2, 3 tabs in one shingle versus an architectural, is you can easily come up with 10 linear feet by just counting each shingle. So you want to document it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now you're going to box out that square. What I do if I don't have a tape measure is I count every 2 shingles as about roughly 1 foot, or you can pace it. Do that too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Again, before you back up, make sure you see what's behind you. Do not back up on it. And then we're going to go and obviously mark it down, because you can see up there, you can see back here, that's a full square. Okay, we're on the rear elevation. I'm going to write rear, or RR, so everyone knows that we're on the rear of the roof. I'm going to write W equals H equals. And that's a representation of how many wind damaged shingles we're going to find on this elevation, as well as how many hail damaged shingles we're going to find on this elevation. We're going to start from the left side and move right and look for any type of damage that looks like hail. So in this case, if you're with an adjuster, some adjusters prefer that you don't circle the roof. Out of respect, you don't have to circle the roof. You're still there to identify damages, but the reality is you're a professional. You're supposed to identify damages. If you find damages, you're welcome to document them. Out of respect, sometimes it's just much easier to do kind of what they're asking for, but at the same time still be able to identify what they are. So instead of circling them at the beginning, sometimes I'll put a dot next to it or a little slash underneath. I prefer the dot because then they can take their own chalk and circle around it, so it hides my chalk. So in this case, I found a piece of hail. Normally I would do a dot, so I'm going to show you another one. So I'll put the dot underneath, and you can see there's actually a hail hit right here. The way the hail works is kind of like your driveway. It's the best representation I can then give you. It's actually an asphalt base with fiberglass, and what happens is when those granules get impacted, they're there for the beauty of the shingle. They're also there for obviously aesthetics, and they're there to protect the asphalt from UV rays. UV rays eat into the asphalt. It's kind of like I was saying earlier, your driveway. If you have an asphalt driveway, what do you have to do every single year? You have to resurface it or refinish it, right? And the reason being is that if it's not refinished every single year, you've had it exposed to the UV rays, it'll cause it to break down, become brittle. You'll start to see it break apart. You'll start seeing holes in that driveway. So same concept with a roof. It may not be an immediate effect. It may tear into it over years, but the time frame that it would have taken for that roof to diminish in the longevity of like how long it would actually last, has been diminished by having those exposed. And there is no granule solution where you can put it on top of the roof. So we're going to identify those as bruises. You can see the bruise in there, and you'll see granules missing in there. Some carriers want you to find matting fracture, which is where there's actual cut into the matting. And you can sometimes see it from the top with a magnifying glass. Other times, if you lift the shingle up from underneath and feel underneath, you'll actually feel that there's actually damage to that actual matting. Again, damage is still damage, whether it be functional or not. So let's just focus on what we find as damage, because there is no cosmetic exclusion on this policy. So we know that A, there's a functional loss because again, the shingle won't last as long, and B, there's a cosmetic loss because now you have the asphalt exposed to the sun. So we're going to move from left to right and identify all those that we find that are damaged. And when you feel the hail hit, what you're actually looking for is preferably that it's soft in the middle. You might see some granules that are impacted and crushed inside there, not crushed like a hammer. If you see something that looks oddly suspicious, and it looks like somebody may have been up there doing damage, you can still identify it, but put an M next to it as mechanical. And this way you can address it as maybe another roofer or another company was up there and caused that damage. We don't know. We should never accuse anybody, but we could just say, like, I found this damage. I can't tell you that it's hail, but it's up on your roof.